Hello, I'm Rebecca Gumbrell-McCormick, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Management at Birkbeck College. I'm here today to talk about what's behind the UK's current wave of strikes. You may think there's an awful lot of strikes at the moment, but historically speaking, that's not the case. The highest level of strikes in this country was in the General Strike of 1926, and even in 1979, the so-called Winter of Discontent, there were 30 million days lost. So far this year, there have been 300 disputes. We don't know yet the total number of days lost. So why strike now? Does this mean that the trade unions are growing in importance? Yes, to some degree it does. Trade union membership is recovering from a long decline, from its peak of 13.2 million in 1979 to 6.56 million today. But over the last 4 years, it's been going up by about 100,000 a year. This is largely due to an increase in the number of women joining. So women are now the majority of trade union members in the UK. And that's down to innovative strategies of mobilization and recruitment over many years. Something I look at in my book, Trade Unions in Western Europe, Hard Times, Hard Choices. Why is trade union membership on the resurgence? Well, it's partly due to the trade unions' actions themselves, as I just said, placing more emphasis on organizing, on mobilizing, on recruitment of women, of ethnic minority workers, young workers, but it's also because of the real-world conditions that many workers have to face. The austerity since 2010, which means cuts in real wages, wage freezes in the public sector, worse working conditions, especially during and after the pandemic, for nurses and other NHS staff, for example. More and more people feel they're working unpleasant conditions, long hours, but for little benefit. And the growing disparity between rich and poor. The OECD said that the UK is now the 7th most unequal country among its members. And you will see many, maybe all of the strikes at the moment have to do with pay, that their pay has stagnated over the last 20 years or longer, so that even what seems a major pay increase is only keeping up with what has already been lost. One key reason for union resurgence is that it's possible to identify a common enemy. It's not enough to feel discontented. You also have to feel that there's a reason for that and that there's something you can do about it. The government has emerged as the key enemy here, not just in the public sector, where it has relied on excuses such as having to accept recommendations from pay review boards, but it's also had an effect indirectly on areas such as the railway system and even the private sector in trying to discourage wage increases. A recent social attitude survey showed there's a big increase in the number of people, ordinary people, who feel they're not getting their fair share of the nation's wealth. Government's response has been to threaten, and it has just now been put before Parliament, a bill for minimum service levels in certain occupations. This is almost certainly against international law, but beyond that, it'd be very, very difficult to decide what that minimum service level is. We'll have to see what happens next. The government may be changing position on some of these points. It's given recent positive signals both to the nurses and to the rail workers. Whether that will encourage more strikes or lead to a peaceable resolution of the current strikes, it remains to see.